Good evening, everybody, and welcome to 7th and Elm Bar and Grill, the home of the Indiana State Coaches Show. We have a jam-packed show here tonight as it's time to get back into Holman Center. Yes, we've been in Holman Center, but it's going to be nice to actually have our fans with us this year. I know everyone here and all those in Terre Haute and wherever you're listening, the Wabash Valley or wherever it may be across the Indiana State Radio Network, you'll be starting to make that trek starting Thursday for the men's exhibition contest against Rose Holman, and then the women open up against Stevens College here very shortly. Tonight's show, we will have head coach Josh Schertz join us. He'll be in the second half of the Indiana State Coaches Show with Cooper Neese as well. We'll stop by here at the corner of Food and Fun, but we always start with the number one item to start off the show.
Who's that?
That is you, Chad Killinger, new head coach for Indiana State women's basketball. I could still say new, right? I know it probably doesn't feel like it's new, but
it's actually been 6 months.
Yes.
So.
Does it feel like 6 months? Does it feel longer than 6 months or shorter than 6 months?
Sometimes it feels like 6 days, and sometimes it feels like 6 years.
Does it depend how practice is going?
Well, practices have been pretty good. I mean, we've had really, I think, maybe one practice that I would say was a quote-unquote bad practice. But other than that, I mean, they show up every day, work really hard, try to do the things that we ask them to do. So, it's just a matter of continuing to build each day. And the one thing I think with this group, I think they're ready to play somebody else. So. Yeah. I think they're all ready to get this season started.
I know, Coach Killinger, I was somewhat joking with you a little bit, but you've told me, I mean, every time I see you in the office, you walk by my office, grab something off the printer, you really enjoy this group that you get to come in and work with. And like you told me on camera, and you've told me many times off camera, that you look at the record and you maybe look at what this team has done the last couple of years, and specifically some of the players you inherit, and their practice habits and how they attack each day for you doesn't correlate. You wouldn't have known that if you work with your group each and every day.
Yeah, well, and I think a lot of that's just the newness. And I told them over the summer, I think I was like, at some point it's not going to be new anymore. That newness will wear off. And to their credit, they keep showing up and plugging away and like I said, trying to do everything we ask them to do on a daily basis. And so I think that's a big credit to them and the type of kids they are and the character that they have.
I know you and Coach Schertz are going through it similarly in terms of this being your first year here in Terre Haute, but in terms of what you want to bring to the program, can you describe the dynamic of all the things you want to do, but also processing, all right, when's the right time to implement some of those things that you want to build in your program, really starting from day one and the course of what it's been like over the last 6 months for you?
Well, I think, just from the start, just our relationships with the players and how important those are, and letting those kids know that you care about them. I think once you do that, you can get a kid where they'll just really play as hard as they possibly can. And so really that family, family environment. I know a lot of programs throw that word around, and that's something that's always been important to us. And with that being the case, I think they see how much we care, whether it's myself or our assistant coaches and our graduate assistants. And I think they understand that, we're here to help them, to serve them, and to try to help them be the best that they can be every day. And, we talked about it just the other day that we want them to go on to be successful people when they get done at Indiana State, when they get done playing and get their degrees and go on to be successful. And we want them to be good students, obviously, while they're here. But then we also said, but we want to win. So, I think all the things you do on a daily basis are just create winning habits. And I think once you do those, then winning is a byproduct of everything that you do building into that.
And being really strong on TikTok these days is pretty important for you and the staff too, isn't it?
That was not my idea. I was just walking through the office and
I don't know. It looks like you had. I don't know about that. I'm sure.
It's kind of like, where are you guys going?
You just jumped in.
Yeah.
You're a good team player.
Try to be.
When you think of building those winning habits, what do you believe are some of those most important winning habits that you're really trying to hammer home with your group right now when you got the time before you start getting into these games?
I think one, definitely at the top of the list is just that togetherness you have to have on the court, and kind of understanding. We do some drill work, and there's one drill we do where, they have to take a charge, and part of that drill is everybody else on that end has to run and pick that player up. and getting them to understand the importance of that and caring about one another. And I think when you do that, and they don't care who gets the credit, then I think winning becomes a little more, I don't want to say easier because it's hard to win, but I think winning is, again, just kind of a byproduct of that attitude that you have, that you're going to go out and play as hard as you can for the person next to you and for your coaches and for the school. And once you get to that point, then I think that's where you know they've bought into it.
I feel like, too, you want to preach continuity within your team, but one of the things that's also hasn't necessarily been strong in the past, I don't want to talk too much about the past, but has been the lack of continuity within the coaching staff, too. You got to have that right chemistry within your coaching staff and within your group. What is it about your coaches really in the back that are here tonight, and Deidre, LaCale, and Clint? Alex, a big part, is one of your GAs. What's the biggest part about that cohesiveness of you guys before you really even start to get to your team?
Well, I think that all is also relationship-based. Obviously, I've known Deidre since we worked together at Marshall and stayed in touch with her and seen the great things that she'd done on the staffs that she was involved with. And obviously, I think I told the people at our elite camp that I think I'd known LaCale longer than I had known Rachel, or close to it. So, and obviously you lose touch with people over the years and things, but you follow their career and you know what a great job she's done at all the places she's been at as well. And then obviously Clint's probably in the toughest position because he really, he's the only one that's worked with me. And so with that being the case, like I probably put a little more pressure on him just in terms of helping LaCale and Deidre understand, what we're doing and how we're doing it, and from a day-to-day basis and kind of what my expectations are. And so I don't really look at them as like underlings or assistants, they're friends first. And so I think when you have a staff that cares about each other, and one person who deserves a lot of credit is Alex McKiernan. She's made that transition so much easier. When you come in and you have a brand new staff and nobody knows how to even file something for the budget, or to file some kind of travel request or something, but you have her kind of guiding the ship, so to speak. She's been a tremendous help to all of us, so really appreciate, her jumping in and doing the things that we've needed her to do to help our staff transition.
Chad Killinger joins me here from Indiana State Coaches Show here at 7th and Elm Bar and Grill, corner of food and fun. If you're driving around Terre Haute tonight and you're hungry, come on by 7th and Elm. We'll be here for the next hour. Continuing on that, and one of the mashups I always enjoy seeing on Twitter is every year, I can't even recall the Twitter account, but somebody puts all the mashup of every coach in the country that just got hired talking about culture. That's a word that gets thrown around so much. I think really my question to you is, what's the biggest thing you try to do, Coach Killinger, to make sure that it's a genuine culture? I think there's sometimes every coach, every program, they will preach culture, they will talk about culture, but what do you try to do each and every day as the leader to make sure you have that family atmosphere, to make sure you have family members part of your coaching staff, but also that it comes across genuine and it's not something that you have to flip a switch when you enter the office?
Well, I think it may sound simple, but you just can't be fake. You have to be who you are. You have to be the person that you are on a daily basis. And kids are a lot smarter than a lot of times we'll give them credit for being. I think they can see when people aren't truly bought into what's going on. And so, for us, it's, one of the things I told this group was, as I talked to people, they walked around with their head down, didn't talk to other coaches that might be walking through the hallways or other student athletes or administrators. And, I've had some people come and say, well, it's different. Those kids are like they're walking around with their heads up and they're saying hi to people and they're talking to people and they're excited and they're happy. And I've had a couple of kids tell me, Coach, I actually look forward to coming to practice. I don't know that I've ever had a kid tell me they look forward to coming to practice. But those little things, I think it again is just a product of being yourself, being genuine, what you do, what you believe, and seeing. My kids have been able to come to some practices and things like that, so they see me as a father at times and a husband at times. And I think when you mesh all that stuff together and the kids come in the office without us forcing to come in and scheduling meetings with them. There's kids constantly coming in and out of the office just to say hi. Alex does a really good job of keeping the candy jar stocked. So I think sometimes they're just coming in to get candy and we catch them. But But I think just that feeling of wanting to be a part of something. I think that's human nature, wanting to be a part of something and then wanting to see that be successful. And I think as all those things kind of come together, I think that's where that culture is built.
How important, even though as a new coach and bringing in your new staff, is it to have pieces, a part of your new culture that you're building that were already here? And, a lot of those players, like you mentioned, maybe necessarily haven't had a lot of success here in the past, but why it's important to bring back players like a Summer Pitzer, like an Adrian Folks, Marie Hunter, many more who have logged a lot of minutes and have played a lot of basketball in this league. Even though you want to bring in a new culture, new style, whatever phrase you want to put on it, why is it also important to make sure you have at least a handful of players that at least know what to expect and can help you along?
Well, I think for me, and I don't know, it might sound silly, but I've never been one to take a lot of credit. And so I like seeing other people have success. And I think sometimes it's funny when you get on social media and you'll see, I don't know, somebody will post something about signing a pro contract or something like that. And it seems like everybody wants to be a part of that. Like they want some kind of credit for helping that person get to where they're at. I'm the opposite of that. A lot of times I may send a text message to somebody or an email or something saying, hey, congrats, that's awesome, happy for you. But I don't feel like you have to put it out in the social media world to make yourself look better or to feel better about yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm genuinely a person that likes to see other people succeed. And so when I looked at our roster and who could come back and the kids, all those kids you mentioned, those 9 returners, like I want those kids to enjoy some success. Now, what level that's going to be in the next couple of years, I don't have a crystal ball. I couldn't tell you. But at the same time, I think it's going to be better. I think it's going to be more competitive. And I want to see some of them, get those accolades for the hard work that they're putting in.
Is that a difficult process of when you come in as a coach and you go through all of those meetings, you come in, you meet all the players who were here previously. Of course, we'll get to your newcomers in a moment. But what was that dynamic like? And really the challenges of being a new coach coming in and trying to figure out a lot of information about a roster in really a short amount of time.
I think the biggest thing was probably, I think most times coaches get jobs and they come in and they set everybody down in a room and they pound their fist on the desk and we're going to do this my way, and if you don't like it, go somewhere, And we didn't do that. We called. I called everybody individually. Schertz got me their numbers. Some of them I actually talked to while we were watching our son play baseball in Louisiana. I'm out at the baseball field, walking down the line, talking to them, just trying to get to know them as people, not as basketball players. And so as we kind of went through that process, it kind of led me to have an idea about who we wanted to keep and who might need to move on. And then once I got here and sat down with different people who had been involved with the team and was able to talk to them, it became quite apparent who needed to be the ones that were still involved with the program. And that was basically the process for me. I think the interesting thing was getting here as late as I did. It was close to finals. So you didn't want to have any tough meetings with anybody right before finals. And so, we waited and really tried to make sure that academically they took care of what they needed to. I didn't get involved with any workouts or anything that we did until we started in June. And so I feel like that coming in and not just jumping into the basketball part of it, I think made them see that it was about more than basketball as well.
Don't want to say that coaches or anybody that was around a year ago during the pandemic and part of the program didn't take summer workouts and that time for granted. But now that you've had almost about as typical as a summer you could have, lean into a year after going through what you did with Nichols a year ago comparing to now, how important is the summertime and almost making sure you have that. I'm sure you probably feel more important now because you're taking over a program, but just in general, Coach, how last year where everything was anything but normal, to know the importance of now, and we finally are kind of somewhat as close to normal as we could have gotten to.
I'm going to be 100% honest. It was extremely important for us just in terms of like building offense and defensive philosophies and those kind of things. But I can also tell you that it's extremely long. We had 43 if you count summer workouts. Then the preseason, before we started our actual practice, we had 43 workouts. And now we've had 25 practices. Today was our 25th practice. So that's 68 days that it's been us in the gym, and I think they're so ready to see somebody else that I'm ready to see them play against somebody else. But I think that was important for us in terms of building it. Obviously it's important in terms of maintaining skill level and conditioning and those kind of things. But I'm also somebody that believes they're still, as much as they want to be adults, they're still kids, and you still, I think, need to give them some of that time to be a kid. And so, not that I'm rethinking what we'll do next summer, but it may look a little different. But really, with what we've been able to do, this group has surpassed where I thought they may be from an offensive standpoint. In terms of, we run the triangle offense, and it can be complicated if you make it complicated. And they've really grasped it pretty well, and are doing, they're doing things and making plays that I would expect the kids to be doing their second year of running it. And so that has me excited about what we might be able to do from an offensive standpoint.
Well, I think it's important that you kind of put that in a perspective, though, Coach K, because I think a lot of people may think, you hear summertime practices, and there may be, a certain thing that's attached to it as it's kind of a shortened time frame. But you brought up how many practices they've had. That's a lot. That is a lot of time. I know sometimes as coaches, you probably feel like, man, I still maybe want that one more practice or one more time. But that's a lot of mental capacity that takes on your locker room, mental capacity it takes on your players. And that's why it's important to bring that up, because, you're ready to go play somebody else, because it's not like you've just been at it for the last month.
Yeah, and we're basically using this week to kind of just sharpen up a few things. We added one thing today. I don't know that we'll add anything else the rest of this week. We've got, probably 75 to 80% of what I would like to run from an offensive standpoint already in, so that allows us to kind of slow down and concentrate on some of the smaller aspects of each one of those, whether it be an offensive set or defensive trap or anything like that we're running.
We'll take our first break here in the show. We'll come back with another segment with Coach K in just a moment. This is the Indiana State Coaches Show, live from 7th and Elm Bar and Grill on 105.5 The Legend. This is your home for Indiana State University sports. We welcome you back to the Indiana State Coaches Show, live from 7th and Elm Bar and Grill. We are continuing with first year Indiana State women's basketball head coach Chad Killinger. All righty, Coach, so let's get a little bit more to your roster. We've talked about your returners and how important they've been. Well, not only do you want people that have been here and know what's going on, you got to bring in people that can fit in well with that new culture. Overall, your newcomers. What stood out about the newcomers, and most importantly, how do you feel they have fit into your culture with your team now?
Well, I think each one of them brings a different dynamic. They're kids from very different places all over the country, and so the one I was excited to add was Anna Mckendree. Obviously, coached her a year at Nicholls State. That kid will run through a brick wall for you. She takes charges in practice. She's actually got Essie taking charges in practice, which is totally blows my mind.
Yeah, that's a new development.
Yes. I told her that today. I said, if you'd have told me in May, Essie, that you'd be taking charges, I don't know if I would have believed you. But
is that something in the Australian game? They just don't necessarily teach a lot, or
I think they teach them to get out of the way. I don't know, but she's done a really good job. With that. But Anna, she just works extremely hard. She's probably her toughest critic. She's a kid that last year kind of struggled with when to shoot the ball and when not to shoot the ball. And it got into her head a little bit. And I think now she's playing with a little more freedom. And she's a kid that can shoot it from deep. In practice today, I think she made 2 threes from about 25 feet. And plays with a lot of confidence. But I think she's a kid that a lot of people would label as just a shooter, but there's so much more she brings to the game in terms of seeing the floor and passing the ball, and obviously she's got some things to work on from a defensive standpoint, but just brings a different dynamic to the team as far as toughness and grit. But really glad she's here. Tanisha Curry just is a kid that plays extremely hard as well. Her versatility is what's going to really help us. She can play anything from the point to the 3 to the 4. Which is hard in our system because there's some different responsibilities, especially when you go from like playing that 4 spot to like a 3. But with her offensively, we keep it kind of simple. Don't run a lot of sets. We just get into the triangle and let her play. But she's extremely strong. Like I said, tough kid. Really versatile around the basket. Can score down there and put the ball on the floor. And the one thing about this whole group is they're just really unselfish. we work a little bit on making an extra pass in some of our shooting drills and things that we do, but this group hasn't had been told a lot of times that like make the extra pass. I think they're constantly looking for each other, and I think that's something that our fans will enjoy. I know our fans enjoy good basketball, and that's part of good basketball, and so I think that's something that excites me for our fans to be able to see that ball movement that we'll have. And then Big Florence, she's got a really unique story. Started off at Grand Canyon University. Didn't quite work out there for her, so she went to a junior college in Texas, Grayson College, and was in a really, really serious car accident. Her and a men's player were traveling. Car broke down on the side of the road. While they were in it, the car got struck by another vehicle. She was had several surgeries. Ended up going to SMU, and of course their season got cut short last year. They only played 6 games, and so she's almost coming here out of a year off. So like getting back into shape and just getting into the swing of basketball again, I think was our important step for her. And I think every week we just see more and more from her, and that size that she has and ability to move and step out and actually shoot the 3-point shot gives her a different dynamic and a different look for us. But those guys, as far as our transfers go, have me pretty excited about being able to give us some depth.
Ultimately, Coach, when you look at it and you see your team starting to play next week, what do you want people to do in terms of describing your team, and what do you want characteristics that your team to show this year, and that you're like, okay, as we go out and we play, this is the way I want our team to be described as?
Well, I want us to play hard and then to play together. To play, for lack of a better word, the right way. It's one of those cliches the coaches always they get hired.
I've heard a few coaches say that during my time.
With good culture, but as simple as it sounds, it's not always easy to play the right way. And but I think this group will, as long as we're playing hard and playing together, and I think they're starting to show a better commitment to the defensive end of the floor and really understanding the principles that we've been trying to put in place. And so I think that defensive mindset and just a toughness. I think that's the main things that I hope we start to build on early this year.
I know one of these things as you go through, you build continuity, not just within your program, but continuity, I know, with the men's program as well. And you and Coach Schertz can relate a lot to each other this year because you're both going through it in terms of your first year leading the basketball programs here in Terre Haute. What have you enjoyed of that dynamic, getting to know Coach Schertz, his staff, their program? I know you both right now are trying to build something that you both are really proud of in each of your programs.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing, he did a great job of putting together a staff that was going to fit what he was looking for. I think they each bring a different dynamic to the program. So I thought he did a great job with that. And then he talks a lot about not running plays and teaching them to play basketball. And I think that's something that we're big on. I maybe use some different terminology than he does, but that's one thing with like running the offense that we run. It's not a lot of set plays. I think that kind of bogged this team down last year a little bit, and so just having some freedom to play. I think seeing that from their side and knowing that that's what we're trying to do, I think that's where some of the biggest similarities will be, and it's not going to be walk the ball up the floor and run a different set every time. I mean, there's too many possessions to put in that many plays, in my opinion, and so seeing them and how they've adjusted to that is interesting, because that's what we're trying to do as well.
The men, of course, will get a crack at it Thursday first with their exhibition against Rose-Hulman before you're in Holman Center next Tuesday against Stevens College. But just after a year where even when people were able to go in the facilities, it was a very limited capacity, Coach K, the emotions for you of being able to know that fans are going to be able to come out and to be able to be in Holman Center. And when you go on the road, whether it's the Big Blue Boosters, whomever it will be able to travel and flock and see your team play throughout the Valley. I'm sure that's got to mean a lot to you, is for all of you, not just you in this, but also your team, to know when you start playing games again this year, you're going to be able to have your loved ones and more than just your loved ones in the stands watching you.
Yeah, and I think just a little bit more of a return to normalcy. I think that's what everybody's striving to get us to. But I don't think I realized how we'd practiced one time in the Holman Center when when I was at Lincoln Trail, we're getting ready to go to the national tournament. That you play in an arena out there in Salina, Kansas. At the time, it was held in Salina. So we actually came up here and practiced because we just played in smaller junior college gyms all year. And I don't think I appreciated how big it actually is.
Yeah.
Till today, we were practicing, and Natalia Lalich, whatever we were doing, she called out a screen, and somebody was like, I didn't hear you. And I was like, you have to be loud, Nat. Like, Section 204 has to hear you. And they looked up, and I was like, that's a long way up there, isn't it? You know. So, but I think it'll be. I mean, it's going to be incredible. You know, we had our first practice in the Holman Center Friday, and we walked in. I did the Hoosiers. I yelled Hickory. I don't think anybody else knew what I was talking about. I think Caitlin Anderson was the only one who was like, oh, that's that movie from Indiana basketball. I was like, Hoosiers. She's like, yeah. So I had to get that one in. So I just
Well, it looks
yelled
like
Hickory, and we didn't measure the rims or anything. But after being in the arena for so long, I think it's a little bit different dynamic in terms of practice. And I think it's something – it's actually kind of nice that it happens the way it does, because when you're getting towards the end of all your practices in the preseason and everything, it's just another thing that gets them excited about being able to practice in there. So the timing of it actually worked out pretty well for us.
Well, it looks like at least one positive is you know what movie you can use on your first road trip this year.
Well, yeah, because none of us seen it.
Yeah, you can at least use that as you go to St. Louis for your first road trip this year and put Hoosiers on the bus. Coach K, really means a lot for you to come out. I know we're going to have many of these conversations throughout the year, but even though I haven't necessarily been able to be around your team every day, to what you've said, really in your opening segments, and to those that are here, and I can relay it too, your women, your young ladies are having so much fun, and seeing in the hallways with a smile, looking forward to playing basketball here for a program that it isn't like basketball here has struggled. Right. There have been some really strong women's basketball teams here despite not making it to the ultimate level of the NCAA tournament. Really looking forward to seeing your team hit the court next week on Tuesday, and can't wait to see what the Coach K version of Indiana State women's basketball looks like next week.
Well, I appreciate that. It's you know, we talked a lot about when I got hired about the tradition and history of the program and how much that meant to us and the importance of it. And it was great. Example of that was this past weekend. I'll plug my wife. She was named to the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame Silver Anniversary team.
She's not looking at you right. There we go.
But we went, and I'd actually never been to the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, believe it or not. So I'd gone up there a couple times and to recruit, and gone through the Newcastle area, and just had never had time to stop, or when I did stop, it was closed. So being able to see there and see that history was really neat. I walked around and I looked at every plaque that they had for every person that had been inducted, and it was incredible to see how many people who had ties to Indiana State or to Terre Haute were actually in the Hall of Fame. So I was taking pictures of all those, and then I had a chance that night at the banquet to meet Jan Connor, who is in our Hall of Fame here.
Yeah.
Amy Walker, who played here and led the Missouri Valley in scoring, actually got inducted into the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. And Amber Gwynn, I think was her last name, played here. She was from Bar Reeves. She was on one of the Silver Anniversary teams as well. So seeing that connection and being there, and you know, I may not have been there if it wasn't for my wife making that team, but it was awesome to see just how deep the roots of Indiana State basketball run throughout the state.
Again, Indiana State women's basketball will be in Holman Center for the first time for the season opener next Tuesday, November 9th at 6 o'clock, just down the road here from 7th and Elm Bar and Grill. Coach Killinger, thank you so much. We're looking forward to all these conversations throughout the year. Once again, that was Chad Killinger. We'll take a break here on the Coaches Show. When we come back, it's time for Josh Schertz, the head coach of the Indiana State Sycamore basketball program. This is the Indiana State Coaches Show, live from 7th and Elm Bar and Grill on 105.5, The Legend. And you'll be able to hear Sycamore basketball back on 105.5 The Legend starting Thursday night against the Rose-Hulman Fighting Engineers, which will be the exhibition opener before Indiana State will ultimately start the season officially next Tuesday against Green Bay on the road. It's now time to talk about Sycamore basketball with first-year head coach Josh Schertz. Josh, welcome to the Corner of Food and Fun. I know you've been here multiple times over the last 6 months that you've been here.
First time I'm not stuffing my face, though, so it's different capacity.
Different capacity. Look, you've been head coach basketball a long time. but now new stop, new everything. What are the emotions like for you just heading into the season? And it's an exhibition game on Thursday, but still first time that you actually get to go up against somebody else for the first time.
Yeah, I think you're always excited. Every game brings that, but certainly first time at Indiana State, first time on the Holman Center floor. So it'll be fun. I think every game, at least for me, first 13 years I've done as a head coach, and even before, I think it's my 24th year. I don't look it, but I've been coaching a long time. But I think you have butterflies, and and certainly there's nerves and excitement for each and every game. But it has been different, and we've been going at it, like I think Chad hit on, a long time, starting back in June. So guys are sick of playing against each other. I'm sick of watching them play against each other. So, season is here now around the corner, and I think everybody's excited to get to go out and compete and kind of get a gauge of where you are.
I don't want to say that other programs don't have challenges, because everybody's got challenges and everybody has to deal with any sort of injuries as you go throughout the year. But for you, since you've gotten here, how many practices have you had with all of your guys available since you've gotten here?
0.
Yes.
Since June, 0. We've not had one with all 14 players available. So been a little bit of Murphy's Law, with what can go wrong will. But the guys have been good in terms of not making excuses and continuing to work and focus on things we can control. We've had some, bad luck, some self-inflicted stuff. And then, so we just haven't had everybody available. But at the end of the day, like we've talked about with them, no one's going to feel sorry for us. We're not going to feel sorry for ourselves. Whoever dresses, we're going to have to, we have the same standards across the board. We got to find a way to get the job done. And the guys have been good. The energy and the spirit, inside the locker room, the focus level, the attention to detail in terms of the work has been better. It's gotten better as we've gone on. And so where we were in June, made a lot of progress. Obviously, you'd love to have everybody available. You always look much smarter as a coach when your best players can play, and so we'll get there eventually, I hope. And but we'll we got to find a way to get the job done here while we wait for those guys to get healthy.
Coach Killinger brought it up, and it was a question I asked him of, when you come into a new program, and of course you had so much success at Lincoln Memorial at the Division II level prior to coming here to Indiana State. But in terms of taking over the program, where do you feel, just in terms of the culture you've been able to attempt to set and try to set over the course of the last months that you've been here, of what you liked about what you build, and maybe what you want to continue to see your team continue to strive, and just culture standpoint, taking basketball out of it?
Yeah, I think everybody does things differently, and I took over a different situation, obviously, than Chad did, right? He took over a completely rebuilding situation. Greg and his staff have done a good job establishing their culture and the way they do things. And so it wasn't that, but you have to do things, the way that you do them or the way you think you should do them. And, so our culture here is different than it was. And again, that doesn't mean it's going to be better or worse. It just means it'll be different than what it was prior. And I think guys have bought in. We've tried to be, and I don't really know. I haven't asked them, what it was prior. But for us, getting guys to really lock in, focus on the process, focus on the day-to-day work. I think, the way we do things is not for everybody. I've told them that. I think when you look at LMU, we have 3 guys right now in the G League, and we have 2 guys in the NBA, and that's, from a D2 school. And there's, and so I think the way we do things, if you love it, can kind of propel guys to greatness. And I think if you don't love it, probably exposes you and probably makes you not like basketball, because we do work at it. We do work at it every day. We invest a lot of time. The player development piece is huge to us. But these guys know, ultimately, we're going to really care about them. We're going to push them. We're going to try to have those, develop them and care for them at the highest level. And so I think that, the work and the day-to-day stuff has improved dramatically. The attention to detail, the focus, the way we want to practice, the standard which we practice to has gotten better. From June to now. It still needs to continue to grow, but I'm much happier than I was, a few weeks ago with where we are. from that standpoint, I think in terms of growth, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I think the thing you always and it'll remain to be seen is how you handle adversity, right? And how you handle tough times. And I said it, in the press conference, whatever, 8 months ago or 7.5 months ago, that however long, it seems like 7.5 years ago. But I said, you have to have, hire a staff and recruit players you can lose with, because ultimately, I think if you can lose, and losing is true serum, adversity is true serum, if you can do that and stay together and stay connected and not fall apart, I think that's the foundation for winning. And so we'll see. We haven't had any real adversity yet, other than the injuries, but in terms of competition, and hopefully these guys, like I said, I'm excited to see kind of where it takes. But from a cultural standpoint, we're establishing it. Culture is people, it's behaviors, it's actions, and again, these guys have come a long way in terms of how we want to do things here over the last almost 5 months.
One of your responses in that answer, Coach, that stood out to me was, you're like, I didn't ask the guys to know how different it is and what you're doing now compared to previously. Why was that important, and why is it really just for you and your staff to do what you do and don't really have to get into, all right, well, just because this was done this way prior means we got to do something totally different. How
right.
You kind of treated that dynamic, and make sure for yourself you're just trying to do what's best in your eyes.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I don't know all the details of what happened, but we're taking over something that's been pretty good, and we're trying to take it from pretty good to great, and that's a hard thing to do, to take something, and you may sometimes have to, it may not be linear. It may not be just come in and just, you move it, and maybe you have to go backwards to go forwards, and we'll see. But I have a very, very dogmatic in terms of what I think the blueprint is for how you build a program, and the kind of people you got to have, and the kind of culture you got to have, and the way you got to go about doing things, and how we're going to play, and the kind of kids we're going to have, and the way we're going to treat those kids, and the demands we're going to make on them, and so I think it's the most important thing whenever you take over a leadership position, is to be yourself, because if you're not and you're inauthentic, I think people see through that, and it's ineffective, right? So I can't be Greg Lansing, but Jeremiah, who took over for me at LMU, can't be me either. He was my assistant, and he'll do things. I'm sure he'll keep a lot of things we did culturally, but he's got to be himself. I've got to come here and be myself, and then I believe 100% in how we're going to do things and where our process will take us. But I know so to do anything different, I think we just get away from what I believe works, and it didn't matter to me from before how they had done things. And like I said, doesn't mean that it wasn't good, or that there wasn't things that we maybe even do the same. I've never asked them how was this done or how was that done. We just came in and have done things the way we know and believe wholeheartedly in, and and the results will show over time if it's the right way. But I have a lot of faith in what we're going to be able to build here over time.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, Coach Schertz. Once again, Josh Schertz is our guest here on the Indiana State Coaches Show at the corner of Food and Fun, 7th and Elm here in Terre Haute. If you're out driving around and still want somewhere to grab some dinner, you still got some time. We'll be here till 7 o'clock. Cooper will have here on the show in a matter of moments, but how vital has it been to have guys like Coop, of course, Tyreek gets so much attention to, but guys who have been here at Calix, I know has been really massive for you guys getting ready for this year. But just to have those guys who have been around, who've been in the Valley before. Calix hasn't played in the Valley yet, but Coop, of course, has. Tyreek has. And what they've done to embrace your system and embrace the way you're going to play, but also be key guys that you can go to and really lean on as you start getting into games.
Yeah, they're okay, both of them. I'm not huge fans. I'll just be honest with you. They're okay, decent.
You killed my lead in there.
They're so. I don't. Talk about Cooper and Tyreek, but no, those guys have been great, and I think always I've told them this. I'm very appreciative of the fact that that when I came in, that they both gave me a chance. To mean they were definitely going to stay or be here. But when I told the guys this when I came in as that first meeting back before the press conference, I understood they didn't choose me. I chose to be here, and they chose to come under a different coach, different circumstances, different culture, different everything, style of play. Everything was going to be different, and they didn't have to come to the meetings. They didn't have to give us an opportunity, and they did. And again, we've talked about, I know Cooper's mentioned it, we talked a lot when I got there in the end of March when our season finished, and we had basically a month together to work together. It was going to be a lot by faith, not by sight, right? Sometimes you got to live by faith and not by sight. And they weren't going to get to know me in a month, but I hoped that we could build enough rapport that they would feel like, hey, if I can stay here, buy in, that what he's selling is legitimate, that it's real, and it's not just coach speak in terms of, oh, we're going to do this, but that actually it wasn't empty rhetoric. It was actual real. This is how we're going to build. We're going to develop you. We're going to care for you. And as we do those things at the highest level, we're going to help you be more successful in life for being a part of our program. Like, these cultural things will be tangible. They're not just stuff that looks good and on paper. And but it takes guys believing in you. So I'll forever be appreciative of those two, Calix, certainly Julian,
Yep.
Even Sam and Nick, staying on and giving us an opportunity. And like I said, a lot of guys, wouldn't have done that. And so credit to them, and I'm forever indebted. And this group will, lay the foundation, the blueprint for everything to come. And those guys, certainly Coop and Reek staying, gives us a chance to be competitive, right? I mean, and they're two guys that when it comes to, you got guys like Cam Henry and Xavier Bledson that, probably lead in terms of understanding our system and how we want to play, and they really help as coaches and understand they're really high IQ guys. Coop and Reek, have picked up the system quickly, and they're the ones who are going to be leading in terms of, hey, this is what it takes in this conference. They have much more than I do or anybody on my staff does, knowledge of the league, the conference, how we got to operate, and so looking forward. And they got the experience, and there's nothing like having that experience in this level in terms of game reps, and and they have it at a high level. They've had thousands of reps, thousands of minutes at this level, and you can't replicate that experience no matter how hard you try.
The other thing that's really vital, Coach Schertz, I know I've asked you this question a million times over the last couple of months since you've been here, more than just a couple of months, but the importance of your staff. And look, you got to have, no question, just really good assistants, but you got to have strong GAs. You got to have strong support staff below the GAs too. From top to bottom, I think that's really one of the biggest differences is literally at times you've had more support staff than you've had players practicing on the court. But that's important. And I know those have been areas that you've really tried to push since you've been here, is to not just grow and get your guys unit together and all that, but it's also to get a really strong support staff that you can lean on throughout the year.
Yeah, I mean, nothing more important when you're taking over a job. Players are the lifeblood of a program, but assistants are the backbone. I mean, they're the ones who, without them, it doesn't work. And they're the ones who are the point people on recruiting. They're the ones who do the player development. I mean, they do such a lion's share of the work and get, zero credit for it, even though they deserve way more than they get. But I think that was the thing I felt like I had to get right, and if you get that right, everything else kind of falls in place. And, I couldn't have done any better than, what I did. I could have done, ZB's here, I could have done better than him. But other people, I felt like I maxed out. I missed on a few people. ZB was my 7th choice, and 6 people said no, and then here we are. So, but no, we did.
Big day for Pick and Pop.
Big day for Pick and Pop. He's just gonna tweet something out now, and next thing you know, he's gonna have 5 million followers. What's crazy is he posts stuff and doesn't even tell me what he posts, and he gets all these likes and retweets and stuff. I don't even get this information, and we work together. We're supposed to be friends, but Matthew, Bryson, ZB. And then, like you mentioned, you go James and Darren and Harrison, and then down to Alex and Kenny, and all the way through the managers, Evan and Zane and those guys. The way we do player development, I think what's a little bit different is most people do skill acquisition, and that's a big part of player development, of course. For us, player development is decision making, and we're trying to get guys to understand the way we play. The game is a game of decisions, a million decisions, and how do you get better at decisions? Well, same way you get better at shooting. You want to be a better shooter, you go shoot 500 shots. You want to be a better decision maker, go make 500 decisions a day, right? So having bodies out there every workout, replicating, what they're going to see in a game. And you'll come out to a practice, you're out there a lot, and the coaches are as sweaty as the players, and they're busting their tails, and they're competing, and they're getting those guys better, and people don't see that. Also, that's all that unseen work that you'll look up in 2 years, and just use it. Cam Crawford will be an elite player in the Valley. Be like, who the hell is he? Where did he come from? Well, he's been working, and ZB and those guys have been busting their tails every day. And people way overestimate, what you can accomplish in a week or even a month, but way underestimate what you can accomplish in months and years of just hard, unseen work, just consistent hard work over time. And they way underestimate how much better you can get. And we've seen that so often with guys that even at LMU started off, barely played, and then in the NBA, then the G League, they're all Americans, they're making a ton of money. And it's just that day-to-day stuff that we see the growth. But and they do an unbelievable job of that. So that's why it was important to buffer the staff, to make it, because at the end of the day, when I got here and I told those guys this, player development is going to be the cornerstone of the program. That's the foundational piece, is getting these guys better and putting in the work on a day-to-day basis to do it. It's not easy, where we demand a lot of them. And like I said, it's not for everybody. And if you don't love it, you'll probably wind up hating it if you come here. But if you do love it, man, you're in heaven. If you really love basketball and you come to Indiana State, you're in seventh heaven. And so I think the guys that do have really embraced that.
Coach Schertz, before we let you go, obviously Thursday you have your exhibition opener, first time getting in the Holman Center in terms of a game. I know Rose Holman, a program here we have so much respect for, of course, being here in town, and the engineers do such a great job, and Rusty's a really good man that leads their program. But what's the biggest thing you want to get out of Thursday from your program's perspective?
I thought originally it was a debate contest. I thought it was we were going to just have a Jeopardy versus them and see who wins, which I have a pretty good idea.
Yeah, good luck on that.
Yeah.
It depends what the categories are.
Anything with them versus us. No, Rusty does a great job, and they have a good team. They were shortened season last year. They only played 12 games. They were 10-2. Got a lot of pieces back from that team. He does a great job coaching them. It was nice to play. I got the chance to meet Rusty back right when I got here, and he and Matthew knew each other, and so it just made so much sense to have them come in and play. It's a great opportunity for them. They make some money, and they get the experience, come and play in the Holman Center and play Division I opponent. We get the experience to go out and play some outside competition and try to, figure ourselves out, right? I mean, it's kind of like a dry run of anything else, before you do it live on Tuesday, we get a chance to kind of get a dry run, see what a game's like, referees, lights on, first time for these guys, a lot of, most of our team is new, so it'll be, and coaching staff, so it'll be a nice dry run for all of us. Certainly we're going to go out and compete, and anytime there's keeping score, you're going to go out and try to win, and we're going to do everything we can to be successful on Thursday night, and but certainly we have great respect for them. We know they're going to come out, play hard, they're going to be very well coached, and we'll have to play well to win. We're going to be shorthanded. We'll be down, I'm assuming, should dress, we've been at least short 5 or 6 guys. So, so we'll only have 8 or 9 guys dressed. So we're going to have to be ready to roll and compete our brains out. And hopefully we'll play well enough to get the job done. But basically it's a chance for us to figure some things out and knock some rust off and see if we can, in a scenario like this, kind of get our feet under us before we go to Green Bay.
I know Thursday's an exhibition, but I guess maybe one of the bigger questions I have is, are the suits coming back? Do you have to dust off get all the dust off the suits? Is Thursday a suit night? Or?
My wife's giving me the thumbs down back there. No.
No.
We're staying. We once they open that Pandora's box of letting coaches go casual, I mean, there's no way back for that. Those suits, there's no way back. I mean, NBA, no other sport has to wear a suit on the. It was always so uncomfortable anyway. So it's nicer to be in, casual business attire and not have to wear a suit and tie every game. So we'll keep the casual going and probably quarter zips and some slacks and stuff like that, and try to be business casual. Maybe for a big game or something, we'll pull out a suit or something like that. We'll figure it out.
Oh, boy.
But not for an exhibition.
Yes, no, I totally agree. Coach Schertz, it's been so much fun when I've had the time around here in the fall, but especially during the summer, it seemed like being with you guys each and every day, seeing your team continue to develop. So glad to see you finally go up against somebody else
Yes.
starting Thursday. And thanks so much for the time, and look forward to Thursday night.
Appreciate you, Luke. Thanks so much for having me.
Once again, that was Coach Josh Schertz. Join us here at the Indiana State Coaches Show. When we come back, it's time for Cooper Neese to close out the Indiana State Coaches Show here from 7th and Elm Bar and Grill on 105.5 The Legend. Big thank you to Jim Osborne back in our DLC Media Center. Board hopping this one here tonight. It's the Indiana State Coaches Show live from 7th and Elm Bar and Grill. Big thank you to Josh Schertz who joined us. Chad Killinger, head coach of Indiana State women's basketball as well earlier. And now it's time for Cooper Neese. Of course, Cooper, everybody in this area knows Cooper so well. I don't have to introduce where you're from. Everybody knows where you're from, the Cloverdale, Indiana native. Coop, man, we were just talking about it. This time last year, we were still getting ready to play, but there was a delay to the start of the season. Of course, everybody figuring out, one, if we'd be able to get the season in, how much better has it been just from a mental aspect for you as an athlete to go through the summer like you did, to get ready for the fall, and not really – I know COVID is still out there and there's still protocols you guys have to follow, but it's, of course, nowhere near the mega boulder that it was. It seemed like on your back all year long last year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been great to get back to a little bit of normalcy, in the basketball world, and being able to come back this summer, especially with everything being so new. It was crucial for us, for me as well. But going down the line, 1 through 13, everybody needed to come in that summer and work and understand what was going to be, explained from day one and work from day one. So, and like you said, it was different. I mean, we didn't play a game till I think first week of December last year. So you had a lot of practices under your belt against yourself, which gets annoying here and there. But you got to do it. And going into the season this year, now you're actually looking at some normalcy again. So.
You brought up to me in your first interview that we did back after the first day of practice of, yes, there's of course differences in what's been under Coach Schertz and other coaches you've had, but you said you've enjoyed every coach you've had, and every coach has definitely been different that you've had during your time. What is it about Coach Schertz in this current regime that you've liked, that you've really enjoyed, and maybe has helped you from the standpoint of on the court basketball-wise?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been, my development, on both sides, on and off the floor. I take pride in, a lot of my classwork and stuff, more than I used to, I'll say that for sure. But, that's been a big piece, for me. And also going along with
Applause for the academic side, no surprise.
But also going along with the basketball side, each and every day being able to go into the gym and just fall in love all over again. Wake up every morning waiting for practice, and there's not a whole lot of people I feel like in my position that feel that way. Getting to wake up and do what you love to do. With guys like who he's brought in and who he is, you can't ask for anything better than that. And it's for me, it's been a kind of a stepping stone each and every day. I get to learn more and more from some of the greatest minds that I've ever been around as well. So it's been a privilege, a pleasure so far, and I love each and every one of them.
I don't want to go too much and necessarily say, okay, this is different than what you did before. But in terms of what Coach Schertz said in the player development side, can you somewhat describe just what your routine is like now and what the strengths of that is, and kind of the difference in maybe just how a practice is set up, or in terms of your vitamins, as you guys call it in your workout? What is about the player development side that you kind of had to get to know and adjust early that you can really sense now, man, this has really helped develop me?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I'd say film. I've always, loved and watched film. As soon as the game was over, I was watching the game, my past 3.5, 4 years I've been here, but just being able to break down film, with Coach ZB and everybody else that helps us watch film is extremely crucial. You watch it in a different way from different people, so you take different points and, you learn a lot of different things, and to be able to add that to your repertoire and your game, you need that. And that's been, huge for me. And, going to practice, to be specific, we do all these drills, and, we break down the breakdowns, if you know what I mean. So it makes it really easy to understand, but also, be able to play that way. Like Coach said, it's a high decision-making kind of system. So you've got to be able to break down, each decision, where you're going to make a decision at, and, you got to find, your strengths and your weaknesses as well. So.
even though you get that freedom to make the decision-making process, how much more of a difficulty is that? Because some people think, oh, you give them more freedom. Yeah, I'm sure in some areas, Coop, it maybe makes you, I don't want to use the term stressed on the court, but also it's not maybe as easy as what can be verbally said in terms of that decision-making process and all the different things you guys now have to go through when you play.
Yeah, absolutely. This game's not easy. Everything that you do on a day-to-day basis is not easy. It's not meant to be that way, and I think that's exactly what Coach said. The way we do things around here, it propels you or probably sends you down. And that's kind of how it is, and that's the basketball world in general. But to the decision-making part, if I've played this game too long, Tyreek has played this game too long to, not have confidence in their decision-making, their play-making, and shot-making, just the ability to play the game in general. So, coming down to that, you got to go out there and actually play the game. You can't worry about it too much and never too high, never too low. So.
Cooper Nice joins us here at the corner of Food and Fun at 7th and Elm Bar and Grill for the Indiana State Coaches Show, live here from the Indiana State Coaches Show here at 7th and Elm Bar and Grill. Cooper, as you guys continue to get better and go throughout the year, what are some of the strengths you feel that this team is starting to develop and what you enjoy most about being around these guys each and every day?
Yeah, absolutely. There's not a day that goes by where I'm not laughing or, even in the serious moments when, just like today at practice, somebody thought there was a foul, might have been a foul, wasn't a foul. So we go to overtime, screw it, whatever. But, there's always something to laugh about each and every day. So that I've really enjoyed, the guys that, coaches brought in, players, staff, it's been tremendous every day, getting to laugh, getting ready to enjoy each and every person and learn all the new guys too. You're making new friendships, new relationships, each and every day and learning something new. So that's been –
I know one of those guys that never opens his mouth is Jabo, right? He never talks, never complains. Cam Henry, too. Neither of those guys talk at all. Agree with every call.
I'm not going to name names.
You're not going to name names. Oh, how about that, Coach Schertz? He's not going to name names up here. Okay, well, I can't let the pressure get to you, I guess. We were kind of just talking. There's about to be a lot of basketball in a short amount of time for you guys to start off the year, but just – going against somebody else. I know I can't bring up the secret scrimmage with you guys, so keep that out of your mouth. But in terms of your first time playing against somebody else in a game that everybody can watch and actually talk about, what are you just most looking forward to Thursday, Coop?
Yeah, just going out there and competing, going out there and playing as hard as we can and, being able to, do the game plan that's given to us, go be great in your strengths, and try to make the other team, make bad decisions. That's kind of what it comes down to. So I think the biggest thing for us, not going back and talking about the secret scrimmage, but just being able to have a full 40 minutes, I think will be a huge key for us to, carry on throughout the next game, to the next game, to the next game. And, being consistent is going to be huge for us. And then, we just hit the guys up today about, we've had a pretty good 3-day stretch of practice. We need to make today the 4th day and make it a great stretch, through this week. But, you can't just do it 4 days, can't do it 5 days, can't do it 6 days. You got to do it through the entire year. So I'm really excited to see that, that transformation. And, these last probably few months, we've had some spotty practices, some spotty days, and, some spotty minutes on the floor already. But being able to see that development, to a full 40 minutes will be really fun to see.
What are you, and you kind of, talked about it in your answer there, Coop, already, but, you guys have, in terms of a leadership role, you've always been a guy that has been vocal and has talked to your teammates. But outside of just being vocal continuing, where do you sense, man, I've really grown a lot in terms of a leadership aspect that you feel like you're more, not that you haven't been in the past, but more of a positive leader now with this group?
Yeah, I'd say, the biggest thing for me probably just being patient with myself, and my teammates, and he mentioned, Cam Crawford, and I believe fully that he'll be an elite player, eventually in the Valley, whether that's at the end of this year, next year, junior, senior, whatever, whenever it is. Just being able to talk to those guys and share them my wisdom in the Valley and just help them understand before they even get to, that point of, hey, they might be struggling this night, thinking this one night, maybe they're in a shooting slump for one game. Just being able to develop, these relationships with some of these new guys and help them see, what the Valley is, what we compete against on a nightly basis, where your head's got to be at. It's really been that's probably been the biggest part for me, just being able to talk to guys and make them understand before they get to the point of, failure. So.
Coop, I know you guys have been working a lot. Isn't it nice to now know that, man, you're going to get rewarded? Not that more practicing is not a reward enough, but to know, man, the games are right around the corner and really starts Thursday for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I love each and every one of my teammates, but I'm tired of playing against them. I promise you that. So,
I'm sure they could say the same about you. I've seen you've been shooting it very, very well. So I'm sure there's a lot of guys that are saying, man, I know how you feel on defense when Cooper just drains a three right in your grill, man.
No, I love these guys a lot. I'm ready to actually go out there and be one all together. 1 through 13, and be together throughout a full 40-minute game, and just be able to grow throughout the season, and believe in the process. I'm extremely excited for this year and years to come about what's going to happen for Indiana State.
I know I didn't get a chance to ask you about it here in this interview, so I'll ask it about you here. I know it was written about and was a really good piece. Able to practice in your high school gym, I think about a week or so ago. What'd that mean to you to be able to go back to Cloverdale and to know that Coach Schertz and his staff and the guys made that happen for you? Because, Cloverdale is right down the road, but also it is something you got to make a drive to go do and make happen on an afternoon.
Yeah, he probably regretted that going down there after he seen me the way I shot when we went down there. It didn't look like old Cloverdale days, but I'm extremely thankful, for being able to go up there, then being able to piece that together. And I didn't even know about it till we turned into the school, so it made it even more special. So that was something that I held near and dear to my heart. That place is special to me. My whole family. I watched my brother. As I was a kid. Playing there, and dreamed about wearing the green and white candy stripes. Doing stuff like that, and just being able to, go back there and share a little bit of, my history, the history before me with some of my teammates, and coaches. That's something that I'll never forget, and I'll always be thankful for.
Coop, man, I remember when you got here, really was right around the time I started here at Indiana State. It's been so much fun just to see you continue to grow during your time here, and I'm really eager to see you continue to grow on the court this year and watch you play starting Thursday for real, man. Thanks so much for the time and looking forward to it, Coop.
Thank you for having me, Luke. I appreciate it.
Once again, that was Cooper Neese joining us here on the Indiana State Coaches Show. That does it for the Indiana State Coaches Show tonight. Big thank you to Jim Osborne back in our studios at the DLC Media Center. For Coach K, who joined us to start off the show, Chad Killinger, and, of course, Josh Schertz, who joined us as well tonight on the Indiana State Coaches Show. The next time you can hear Sycamore Athletics here on 105.5 The Legend will be this Thursday night from Holman Center. You can join Matt Wren and myself Thursday night here on the call, 105.5 The Legend, for the Sycamores and the Rose-Hulman Fighting Engineers. So until Thursday night with Wren, I am Luke Martin saying so long here from the corner of Food and Fun. This has been the Indiana State Coaches Show live on 105.5 The Legend.